Welcome to the Dynasty Happy Hour podcast. Pull up a chair and kick up your feet as you get ready to enjoy some of the industry's most entertaining and actionable Dynasty content on the planet. We're talking veterans, rookies, sleepers, and oh yeah, you know the crew has those dad jokes ready for you. So let's not wait any longer and bring on the host or some combination of Doug, James, and Tyler.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Yes, it is just my voice you are hearing because that happy birthday goes out to Doug Eddy, whose birthday it is. He unfortunately could not make it tonight, so you're just going to hear us two, James and I. We are here, and we are going to go over rookie quarterbacks. It's just going to be a nice little quick pod. There's not too much news we got to really dig into. Nothing has really hit on the Rodgers stuff or Lamar Jackson, so we can just go right past that. But let's get right into it. James, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. I finished an 18-hole round of golf today. First one of the season. Super stoked about that. Couple pars, couple bogeys, couple double and triple bogeys. But, you know, first round of the season. Happy about how it came out. And now I'm ready to talk some football with you.
Nice. I am excited. And the only real news I really want to talk about is Irv Smith, formerly of the Minnesota Vikings, is he just signed with the Bengals a 1-year, $1.75 million contract. That's great to hear, but honestly, I think they're drafting a tight end very early in the draft. Irv Smith, if he would have proven it, it would have been now. Nice part about it, though, is he's 24 years old still, so he is he's getting some life. He's on the ventilator coming back from dynasty death pretty much. So Irv Smith, he's gained a little bit of value, but I don't see much out of this. What do you think?
I think it's a good thing. We've seen some quarterbacks play for the Cincinnati Bengals that have actually elevated into better contracts. Hayden Hurst, just as an example, just landed a 3-year deal. I think it's a resurrection contract. You know, he's only getting paid $1.75 million on this contract, and you know, they don't target the tight end super heavy in Cincinnati. However, they are down by the goal line a lot, and I think Irv Smith could actually have a chance here just to prove it. Anyway,
He'll definitely be an underdog. Which, hey, this podcast brought to you by Underdog. Don't forget to use the code DHH when you submit and start a profile. And they will match up to $100 of anything you put in. So you put in $20, they're going to give you $20 right back. You put in $100, they'll give you $100 right back by using code DHH. That can happen. There's tons of things you can go on. There's baseball started. You know what? I hate fantasy baseball, but daily fantasy baseball, I can do. You don't know why? I don't have to deal with submitting lineups every single day for a weekly matchup. Oh, I hated fantasy baseball just for that, just the grind almost. But you know what? Daily fantasy baseball, perfect for the people that do not like that. So I would suggest to go on there, submit a profile, use code DHH, and get that money back. Because you know what? You're going to use it anyways. You know, you're going to sit here and think to yourself, hey, I don't want to get this. Then all of a sudden, a week later, you're going to be like, oh, I really want to play some fantasy. And you're going to get it. So you might as well just do it now. Hit pause. Go ahead and do it. Once again, code DHH to match up to $100. James,
yeah,
we have one spot in the listener league.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
roll the wheel. We got a wheel.
Oh, we got a wheel.
We have a wheel. And you know what? We're going to spin this bad boy. We got 6 entries. It looks like at Josh Elliker, at BC, at Coolio-tastic, at FFB Garage, at Dynasty Jax, at BP person. You want to say that one?
B person can 23.
Nailed it. All right, let's spin the wheel. The winner gets the spot. And here we go.
Oh,
spinning. It's spinning.
Get lucky.
It's B Cole SC.
Welcome to the listener league.
SC is the winner. Hey, congrats. I'll reach out to you on Twitter and we will get you all set up so you can just snuggle right into that team. I don't think it's too bad. Not sure, but hey, we will find out. All right, James, I want to
Yeah,
get
buddy.
right. I want to get right into this whole meat and potatoes session of this
Wow, we're not going to talk
podcast.
any news?
I looked over your news. I appreciate it. You know what? I honestly don't think it's a huge deal right now for Dynasty. Some of them are just kind of nitpicking because we are very news hungry. I just want to get into these prospects because there's a lot to get into, especially a quarterback. I just want to give the people what they came for, and that is
All
rookie
right.
quarterback discussion.
Let's unpack it then. Let's get right into it.
All right, we're going to start out with CJ Stroud, who
Okay.
is most people's 101. I want to hear the pros of CJ Stroud first. Give me the pros, the positives.
I mean, the first and foremost, the silky smooth transitions of passes. Like we've seen it. We've seen it in his combine. We saw it in his pro day. Like the guy just doesn't miss. And I believe it's going to translate to the next level. And he's definitely a day one starter with whatever team he lands on. I believe it's a toss up between the Houston Texans and the Carolina Panthers. The next guy, Bryce Young. It's either or for these two. I don't see any other team moving up closer to grab one of these guys, although they should. Both are definitely positive standpoints and probably the top two prospects in the draft for Superflex.
Oh, I completely agree. For me, CJ Stroud, the positives. He's 6'3", 214 pounds. He's 21 years old. He will turn 22 on October 3rd. Hand size, 10 inches. Perfect, right where you need it. Pros, great size, comparable to the next guy we'll probably talk about. Elite accuracy on the deep ball. It's if his wide receiver isn't going to get it, nobody is. Like, that's the thing. Like, he doesn't really throw into danger, and it's usually if his receiver is going to get it, it's going to get it. If not, nobody is. He's got a quick release when throwing out on screens. He's quick to get the ball, quick out. I love seeing that. No wasted movement when throwing, which is always great to see with young quarterbacks. He was good in 2021, but honestly, I saw major changes going from 2021 to 2022 with footwork and his release. And we'll get into that a little bit in the cons. But his Georgia tape was greatness. His Georgia tape was elite. And that Georgia team, I've watched a lot of quarterbacks, against Georgia in this whole entire session. Georgia destroyed people. Like, they were constantly getting pressure. And you know what? CJ Stroud avoided it. I like that tape. There's some cons, so let's get into it. James, you start first with the cons.
Yeah, the one con that we notice comparing like apples to apples from CJ Stroud to Bryce Young is CJ Stroud, he's more of a pocket passer. He's not going to run crazy. He's not going to jump outside the pocket. I am a little worried if he does get flushed out of the pocket, does his accuracy start to weather a little bit? But it's hard to really nitpick these guys too much. CJ Stroud had the wonderful wide receiver core in Ohio State. Does he slack a little bit if he doesn't have superstars around him at the next level? And that is one of my concerns, but very minimal concern for this quarter.
Yeah, I agree. He needs to throw it away when there's really nothing there. I've seen a lot of times he's really trying to slide the ball in.
Yeah.
In 2021, I mentioned this to you. He had kind of antsy feet. It was really quick steps when he's in the pocket waiting. I saw it in 2021, did not see it in 2022. So that's something that he worked on. So that's kind of a con pro. He played with elite receivers, like you said. He leaves the pocket too soon sometimes and rolls left, which you'd like to see a quarterback roll right more often than not. But he rolled left, which throws across his body and then leads in accuracy. And then he had a good arm, but he can make all the throws just fine. But it's not an elite arm, like we'll talk about some, but a couple other people here. Let's get right into the next guy because we will rank these guys after. Bryce Young. Give me some pros on Bryce.
Super sleek, can run the ball. Running threat is always a great thing, especially in super flex. And has the passing accuracy to go along with it, which is great. We see him getting flushed out of the pocket, doesn't phase him at all. Can hit a dead beat straight on shot to the end zone. Doesn't matter where it is. He puts it where only the wide receiver can grab it. And that's a big thing. Yeah, I'm excited about Bryce Young, but I'm putting CJ Stroud a little bit ahead of him.
Yeah, I honestly I love Bryce. I actually have Bryce ahead of CJ. He's 5'10", major concern, 204. People are freaking out. Hand size, hey, 9 3/4. That's a big hand for a guy that size. He's got mitts. He's 21. He'll turn 22 in July of the 25th of July. Pros, he's outstanding at throwing on the spot with anticipation to allow a receiver to stride after he catches the ball. Insanely accurate within 20 yards. It's almost like he never misses. One of the quickest releases I've seen watching tape. I don't know if it's because of the size, but he is just like zip. It's out. Right when he gets it from shotgun, it's out.
Yeah, we talked about it. We talked about it off show a little bit last night as well when we were talking. He reminded you of Drew Brees, the way
I'm getting
he
utilizes. That a
utilizes.
little bit,
yeah, I stole it. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
The way he changes his style of passing through his college progression. He's keeping that elbow up high to sling the pass faster and zip it right in there. Not a lot of passes getting knocked down. I love that you picked that out for Bryce Young, because everybody's worried about the height situation, yet we didn't really see a flaw at the college level.
Yeah, and being 5'10", he's so good at placing the ball between the linebacker and safety on intermediate throws. It just seems like he drops it into a bucket with all the size concerns. He looks big to me, and like you mentioned, from what I've heard and what I've seen, he kind of tilts his shoulders upright with his shoulder that he's throwing towards. It's kind of tilted up like Drew Brees was. So he's not getting many balls batted down, and he stands up straight. Kyler Murray, he bends way too low to me, and that's why he has a ton of balls batted down. Bryce is a very straight up, in the pocket. He's standing straight up, almost on his tippy toes, and he can throw on his tippy toes. Drew Brees did that a lot. I like what I saw. And like I told you, I think he going into high school, he knew he wasn't going to have a growth spurt or anything. So he needed to adapt to being short. And I thought he did very well. I really like Bryce Young. I think he to me seems like his throwing style is Trevor Lawrence. I know that's a bad comp because they're like, oh, one's tall, one's short. But if Bryce Young was 6'6", like Trevor Lawrence, they would be identical to me. Just the way they play stylistically. I like them both. I think they're both elite prospects, and I think Bryce Young is ahead of CJ Stroud for me. Cons. I think we know a lot of them, but let's get into them. James, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the size is a main concern, really, and almost only in the sense for Bryce Young. He's battled it a lot. The one thing I really didn't like was he did not run at the combine. He did not throw at the combine. Why not?
He had tons of water.
Yeah,
he drank gallons of water, and
just
if he would have
drinking
ran
bottles of water, and maybe he should have recycled some of that into throwing at the combine, and we wouldn't be talking neck and neck about CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. I think that he was afraid that he actually may lose some value if he actually competed in the combine, which in my regard is he's hiding something, and that's what I'm a little concerned about. What is his motive for not working out with the rest of the guys that went to the combine?
But then, I mean, the nice part about the pro days is they were back to back with Stroud and Young. So you kind of saw, and Bryce Young to me, perfect. I thought it was a great pro day. I know people said Stroud was like elite, but for me, the way Bryce Young carried himself and people like kind of surrounded themselves around him, I loved it. I loved everything I saw from Bryce. My cons, like you said, size. Can he take hits? This is kind of a con/pro. Can he take hits? He only missed one game in 2 years of starting. So yeah, he took a ton of hits. If you watch the tape, man, this guy got hit a ton and he got right back up. Not the strongest arm, but he can make every throw. I would say it's slightly below Stroud, but it's not far off at all. Maybe like a couple notches, but his arm's just perfectly fine for the NFL. And my biggest issue is when plays break down. He's so smart and he knows where the play is. He's so textbook that if the wide receiver breaks off a route or doesn't gets pushed off the route, Bryce still throws it there, and it sometimes gets him in the trouble. That's my only issue. It's almost like, hey, he knows the play, he's expecting you there, and if you're not there, it kind of sucks for him. And we've seen that with Rodgers and Brady a bunch in the NFL, where they're so in tune with the receivers. They need you there. And that's where Bryce is. So, like I said, not many cons on these two guys. They're 1A and 1A. If you took either one, I'm not going to knock you for it. I think they're perfect. But we'll get into rankings in a little bit. Let's go to the next guy. And this is the Twitter love, we'll say. Anthony Richardson, the massive, massive human, 6'4", 244 pounds, 20 years old, turns 21 May 22nd. Hands, 10.5-inch hands, which is a mitt. I mean, literally a winter glove for a hand. So, James, give me some pros about Anthony Richardson.
I mean, obviously, unless you've been sleeping under a rock, his athleticism just jumps off the page. All right. He's best comped right now to Josh Allen, and there shouldn't be any difference. The size and speed, agility. I mean, the guy ran a 4.440, 4.43 to be exact at the combine, and then just shattered everything else as far as long jump, broad jump, you name it. He did it. The guy has immense athleticism. And you know what, not to say anything else, but people are knocking him because, oh yeah, well, he only really produced his last year as a senior, or a junior rather, in college. And I'm like, well, you know what, they really didn't give him a chance either. I think he is a work in progress, obviously at the next level, but not to get into the cons too much, man. This guy's electric. I watched him before the combine, before anything went out, and I was hoping he would fall. But guess what? He is right there at the top 3, in my opinion. And man, his ceiling is just out of this world.
Yes. And talking about that ceiling, when the pocket breaks down, he still has eyes downfield, which I like to see with the running quarterback. He's still looking to make plays down the field. Big, fast, cannon, bursty. I mean, that's pretty much describing Anthony Richardson in a nutshell. When given time in the pocket, he does progress through reads well. So that's very promising for me, for somebody who's like, oh, he's just one read and go. No, he knows how to go through reads just fine. All red flags on him are teachable / fixable. So that's also positive. It's not like a weird release, or he's just completely mentally incapable.
The one thing that I picked out, and I'm sorry to interject here, was that he is slightly reckless when running in the open field, which, we've seen running quarterbacks year after year go down, and coaches don't want them to run so much or get into collisions too much. And that is like my one knock on Anthony
Richardson. We're not on cons, James.
Oh, well. Oops.
All right. He's very good in pocket and evading pressure, and his accuracy is very good when he actually gets time and he can step into the throw. That's when you see him at his best, is when he's got time and he can step forward into a throw, because it's just a thing of beauty. His deep ball, he can really float it and drop it right in there. Now, James, you can get back in line, get into the mic, and you can tell me about his cons.
I mean, he's a little reckless when he runs downfield. That's
very reckless.
I mean, he looks to be following in the footsteps of Cam Newton, Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, these dual threat quarterbacks. And I really can't knock them other than that. Like, if you're going to run, be safe when you run, slide when you go down. Don't just go head first just because you're bigger than the guy in college, because that won't translate well. That'll translate into a lot of concussions at the next level.
Yeah, I have quite a bit of cons on him. I really wanted to fall in love with this guy watching. I mean, you kind of have to. He throws everything 100 miles an hour. That's what it is. Like, he has no touch sometimes. If it's not 50 yards or longer, he's throwing it at you at 100 miles an hour. He's got one speed. He's a pitcher with one speed, no breaking ball, no changeup. It's just fastball, fastball, fastball. And he's definitely going to need to change that. Sound like anybody? Josh Allen, I almost had the exact same issue with. Josh Allen had a stronger arm and just threw
Justin
fastballs.
Fields had the same problem as well. He just zipping him in there.
Yep. And also, people don't compare him to Justin Fields. Don't compare any of these quarterbacks to anybody, because they're not. They're so different than any. Like, I comped them to the 2020 class, but I comped them more maybe the career arc, not the player. But don't comp these guys like Zach Wilson to another guy. We're going to talk James. You've been guilty of this. Not even close, because Zach Wilson was god awful on tape.
Yeah, you liked him at first.
I know I like this value because his value sucked. He was a early second round pick sometimes, and his value was there.
You bought in.
That's what I meant.
At the end of the first. You bought in. I don't want to hear it.
You can go back and listen to the tape, everybody. But when under pressure, he can tend to roll right instead of just stepping into the pocket. He always likes to leave the pocket too soon when he had a lot of room right in front of him to step forward and even go forward. Short passes like screens sometimes throws it into the wrong shoulder, which can tend to lead the receiver to get blown up or slow him down. So that's something that's teachable, throwing to the right shoulder to throw them into stride, which is always a good thing, because a lot of times it's like, oh, receiver's got to turn around a little bit and he's getting hit by the corner or safety. He needs the right situation. Offensive coordinator, my favorite landing spot by far is Seattle. And then it's the Colts because Steichen. I like those two landing spots a lot for him. The only issue with Indy, he might get, put into the starting spot a little sooner than later because Gardner Minshew. With Florida not having great weapons, you could tell Richardson felt like he had to do it all. Like the Georgia game, it almost felt like he's like, I have to do this. He didn't have any help. And I think that is a good thing coming to the NFL because he's going to realize, hey, I've got help everywhere. Say he does land in Indy. I've got a stud running back. I've got Michael Pittman. They're going to add more weapons. He's got a good offensive line that can definitely come back from, they pretty much hit rock bottom last year, that offensive line.
They can't get any worse.
Their offensive line is the highest paid offensive line, and they're so good, yet they just fell on their face. I don't know what it was, but
I want to talk about the landing spot in Seattle if that makes any more sense, because I really hope that he does go to Seattle and not Indianapolis. It would be a great landing spot behind Geno Smith. Just sit there for at least 1 year before he has to worry about getting into the live game situation. And the similar style of play with the run pass option, it's just going to be gold if he lands in a place like Seattle compared to Indianapolis, where they're actually going to have to, like, I guess, walk him on a leash a little bit.
My favorite part about Seattle, DK Metcalf and him would be a tremendous combo. Like 100%. That would be fantasy gold. And if that happens, Metcalf stock's going through the roof. My last thing, he needs to take the 20-yard reception over the 60-yard reception more often, because there's so many times you watch tape, the receiver that kind of did a short curl or a slant route is jumping, waving his hands, telling him, hey, I'm open, and Richardson decides to go with the deep ball. I get you got a cannon, take the easier throw once in a while. Like I said,
first down.
That's teachable. That can change. But hey, you know what? Something that probably won't change is your opinion on this next guy, and that is Will Levis. Let's talk a little bit about the Penn State transfer. Goes to Kentucky. He is 6'4", 229 pounds. He's 23. He will be 24 June 27th. So he's in that Kenny Pickett range. Mm-hmm. I mean, we all knock Pickett, so we got to knock Levis here. Hands 10 and 5/8 hands.
Some big hands.
He's a big guy, and he posted on Twitter about his weight gains, and he looks ready. James, are you ready for Will Levis?
No, I'm not. I'm one of the guys that are probably less on Will Levis than anyone else. But he did show some good signs, and we'll start with that first. Like, first off, the arm cannon. He really does truly have an arm cannon.
Flick of the wrist.
Flick of the wrist. It's really not too much. Yeah, it's literally effortless. How he can just open it up 40, 50 yards down the field with limited effort. Same zipping passes in the short to medium range down the field. He's good. Like, I don't have a problem with his arm. Do I have a problem with other aspects of his game? Yes. And I'll be happy to get into that after you talk. Go ahead.
All right. Here's my pros, because you know what? I came away really liking Levis. He's tough. He stays in the pocket to deliver throws, knowing a big hit is coming, and it happens because that line did him no favors at all. It was awful. And like I said, if he went to offensive line that can actually protect him, woo. And if this guy has time, he is going to produce. He's the best arm talent in this draft. just pure talent. Like we talked about, flick of the wrist, effort. Like he shows no effort to it, but man, when he has to throw effort into it, he can zip that thing 70 yards plus. It is a cannon. With time, not even a crazy amount of time, he's accurate, perfect. I think he's got perfect footwork and with touch if he has time. If, like I said, this is a big thing with these guys. If they are able to step into the pocket, step into their throws, all these guys can really throw accurately with very beautiful deep balls. He goes through progressions very well. He played in the West Coast offense. He's one of the more pro-ready quarterbacks other than the first two we talked about. And that's what you want to see in with a bad offensive line. He was on his second progression right before he gets hit a lot of times. So I like seeing that. He knows how to throw towards the sideline, back shoulder fades, which is a major play in the NFL. And I love that. He's very good at that. And he throws it to the correct shoulder a lot of times on screens and stuff. And the receiver just kind of keeps going in the motion they're going. I like to see that. He's smart. He had like a 4.1 in college. He's a very smart player. You know who else was like that? Justin Herbert. I'm not comparing the two, but we were all down on Herbert saying he's not ready and stuff. Had a big arm, a big guy. And we just said, we didn't like his college tape because it was meh. Like he had a good junior. It's almost like spot on with Herbert. Will Levis is here. Only thing about Herbert, he's a little younger coming in, which you like to see. But Will Levis, what don't you like to see?
One of the things I don't like to see is his moving around in the pocket is a little erratic. Not very stylish, no rhythm to his feet.
He's
It
stylish.
scares me a little
He's got
bit.
flow.
Yeah, okay, flow. Okay. Put your guns away a little bit, Will Levis. It's not all about your arm. It's also about reading the defense, and I'm a little worried when it comes to that. Like we saw like you had mentioned earlier, when that offensive line broke down, we saw the panic. I was watching some film this week, especially the game against Georgia. He panicked straight up, overthrowing the check down running back, overthrowing the out route to the receiver. And those are my concerns. Like if you are missing the easy check downs to get rid of the ball and keep the ball safe, those are major concerns for me because that slows down keeping the plays alive, keeping the ball on the offense down the field. And that's really what I'm concerned about. Can he control an NFL offense when it's all on his jacked up shoulders? Like I'm really skeptical about it. I have a feeling that he's going to come into the NFL. He's going to get rushed out there, especially if he goes to Indianapolis, because he is better than Gardner Minshew. I'm worried that he's going to get rushed out there. The offensive line, like we said, I'm pegging him to go to Indy, so we can just go off of that. Like if Indy has the same offensive line problems that they did last year, and Will Levis is at the helm, we are going to see problem after problem. He's going to have a very, very big struggling rookie season. And I think his value is definitely going to take a hit once the rookie drafts are over. We see CJ Stroud, and Bryce Young, even Anthony Richardson with a higher ceiling. I think Will Levis, his ceiling is a little bit lower, maybe a low range QB1 at his ceiling. And that's like it. We're talking maybe Kirk Cousins down the line, which is fine if you like that. But I'm not sure I'm willing to waste a first round rookie draft pick in a super flex league with Will Levis with some holes, especially at his age.
All right. My cons are I always felt like he didn't have control of the ball in 2021 versus Georgia. Every time he got the snap, he almost bobbled it. I don't know if it was nerves or stuff, because that rush in the 2021 Georgia team was nuts.
It's because the offensive line stinks.
Yeah. And he bobbled it a couple times. That was really the only game I saw, but I was like, God, it just seemed like he never got a hold of the ball.
No, he was shook the whole time.
Apparently, he throws the ball without laces sometimes, which if he does and he's still able to throw it that far, like good on you. But throw with the laces, that's common sense. You get a little more grip. Base can sometimes be inconsistent. His lower base, it happens when he's getting pressured. This is gonna be a constant theme. He can get checked down happy sometimes, which I don't like to see. Like you got an arm, and you got like if you're getting rushed a lot, he likes to kind of just play it safe real quick.
Yeah, and then he misses the drop down pass. So that's a scary thing.
And he is older. He transferred from Penn State. I understand, but we'd like to see him a little younger. Josh Allen, I think, was 22, 23 when he came out. So not too big of a deal, but I do think he's more pro ready than some other quarterbacks that we'll talk about soon, which will be very quick because we do not like him. He pats on the ball before he lets it rip, and that coincides with the next thing. He gets rid of the ball. He needs to get rid of the ball sooner. If he got rid of that motion, he'd have a quicker release. He pats, then throws. Don't do that. Doug likes to call it, burping the baby. He said
the baby, baby.
Drew Bledsoe did it. He said in his career. So that's really my only cons. I came away really liking Levis. I think he's got a higher floor than a lot of people think.
I'm just really concerned about the indecisiveness when the pressure is on him in the pocket.
I had no weapons.
We can go back to that Georgia game, man.
After Wandell left, nothing. Name me a weapon. His running back
not
is
coming out of
trash.
Kentucky.
His running back, Rodriguez, trash. I watched a little bit of him, and I was like, yuck. No, it's so bad. Like,
I understand no supporting staff, no supporting cast, rather, in the receiving game, but it doesn't matter who your receiver is if you totally miss them on an out route or over the shoulder throw on the edge.
I saw accurate throws outside the hashes. That's
there's some, yes, but when I look at tape, I don't look for the good plays. I look for the bad stuff, because if the bad stuff can't be fixed, which most of the stuff can be, thankfully, Will Levis, he should turn out just fine. Like I said, a Kirk Cousins type ceiling is just fine for Superflex, and I'm okay with that. It's just I don't know if I'm going to pay up, like give me Bijan Robinson over him, give me the other three quarterbacks that we just mentioned over him, in my opinion.
And now let's talk about a guy that, if you were to drop Will Levis in this situation, I think would have had an outstanding season. And talking about playmakers for days, Hendon Hooker out of Tennessee, 6'3", 217 pounds, age 25. January 13th is his birthday, so he'll be 25 all year. I'm sitting here saying that's old, and I'm an old geriatric, shit myself. So he's got 10.5-inch hands. Pretty.
You ain't 45 today.
So. No, I am not. Let's talk pros. This will be very quick.
I mean, he's got a nice vertical jump.
Yeah.
No, I mean he is able to run the ball, and that is a plus. We look at it. He was consistently over the last 3 years in college at least 400 plus rushing yards. Only minimal interceptions, which is great. 27 passing touchdowns last year, 2 interceptions.
I put smart player.
I like that.
Ball in danger. Yep.
Right. I think that's one of those things that you can kind of rely on at the next level. If he's not making those mistakes in college, it's less to happen at the next level in the NFL. But on the other side of things, he is a little reckless when he is running, more so than I alluded to with Anthony Richardson. But that just goes to show, like, the kind of the scheme that Tennessee had. It was mainly, okay, I am just forced to do everything here. Not too many weapons. Who was their wide receiver? Was it Jalen Hyatt?
It was Hyatt and Tillman. They had 2 good receivers.
They had 2 good receivers, which is great. I wish we could have saw more. I don't think he is the prototypical starter at the NFL level. Maybe a Teddy Bridgewater. We talked about like an older Teddy Bridgewater, not like a Carolina Panthers Teddy Bridgewater, not a starting Minnesota Viking.
My comp I posted on Twitter was a tuned up Teddy Bridgewater had a baby with a very poor man's Lamar Jackson. Like that's my comp for Hendon Hooker. He's got a good arm, enough oomph to get it out into the sidelines. He throws with good touch on the deep ball, which is good to see when he's able to step into it. Good pocket presence, which is always good to see. Seems to keep his eyes downfield while moving forward. And like I said, never really puts in the trouble. My cons, on the older side by a lot, and doesn't have much time to waste sitting, which I think he needs to. Ball comes out wobbly almost all the time. I don't like his throwing motion. It's weird. It's a weird release. Teddy Bridgewater had it, but it's almost like the spiral isn't tight. It's just a loose spiral. And sometimes it gets a little wobbly. I don't like Hooker. I think I'm going to avoid him. From everything I've heard, he could be a first-round pick. He's kind of an avoid player if he reaches that, a late first, early second rookie pick. Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I'm not gonna sit here and jump on the bandwagon for the draft stock of him rising. Like, I just don't get it. Like, yeah, he made some plays during the Senior Bowl. Woohoo! The Senior Bowl quarterbacks stunk it up. He was probably the best one. Listen, it's not a big thing. I double checked Hendon Hooker, and I wanted to see because he was landing at the beginning of the second round in Superflex rookie drafts. And I'm like, okay, well, the value is kind of there, like we saw with Jalen Hurts. Guess what? Newsflash, folks. He's not Jalen Hurts. Okay. He does not know how to read a field and lead a receiver open like Jalen Hurts does. He does not know how to run smartly and get out of bounds, control the ball like Jalen Hurts. Um, yeah, I'm not biting on this guy. I really am not. I'd rather just pull some extra running backs in the second round in a super flex dynasty rookie draft.
All right. Well, before we get into kind of the outside the top 5, let's talk about Trophy Smack. If you want to upgrade your fantasy league, baseball's coming up. Might as well get that baseball trophy. Go ahead, use code DHH ring to get yourself a free $60 championship ring. Give it to your commish, give it to yourself, give it to your wife, whatever you want to do. Just you get a free ring, $60 with a trophy belt. They got tons of other choices. They got wall decor. They got stuff for the losers, a toilet seat you can wrap around their neck and say, "Ha, loser." They got turds. They got everything you need for your league to upgrade it. And while you're at there, DHH ring to get that free ring. I recommend doing this. I have it for a lot of my leagues. So go out now, DHH ring once again, trophysmack.com, and upgrade your league. Let's get into these second tier players. I'm going to give you a quick. Do you have anybody outside the tier?
Yeah, I'm keeping my eye on one guy. I want to see where his draft capital goes. He's a little bit older, 24 years old. Malik Cunningham out of Cincinnati.
Pass.
Fast. He's
No,
super
pass.
fast. Oh,
pass for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not buying into any of these guys. I'm not even buying into Hendon Hooker, let alone Malik Cunningham or even Dorian Thompson Robinson.
Stetson Bennett, I'm out on.
Stetson Bennett, yeah, but you know what? In the 5th round of a rookie draft,
He's gonna be like a third, just because of his pedigree.
Yeah, and you know what? That's the only thing that I liked about Stetson Bennett, how he can hang in there 2 years back to back and win national championships. Like, those are huge things for a quarterback. Like, at the next level, we were very high on Jimmy Garoppolo when he was playing in the Patriots organization, but as soon as he got out of that, they were like, oh wow, he has a bigger ceiling than we really expected. And I think that can happen for one of these guys, mainly Stetson Bennett, with the pedigree of play that he has put up so far, especially in the past 2 years.
Yeah, like Max Duggan, I actually like his potential. He's got potential. He's 6'1 and a half, hand 9 7/8, weight 207. He's 22, turned 22 March 12th. So he's on the younger side for these guys. His legs are a weapon. He's very fast.
Yeah, he could definitely have the speed, man. 4 or 5 speed at the 40. Yep.
His accuracy and footwork do need work. He's got good arm to make every throw. He has the tools to become a plus backup with a chance to start in the NFL. So those type of players, late third, mid third, yeah, sure. Especially in a super flex when their value can go through the roof. And my favorite, Tyson Bagent. Love Tyson Bagent.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, he played for Shepherd, which is a very low competition, but Senior Bowl and the Combine, eye-opening. I thought he stayed in there with the other guys. Like, accuracy-wise, I thought he was one of the guys that stood out beyond Hayner, who I'm not even going to talk about. I thought he was a guy that really opened my eyes. He's 6'3", 213, 22 years old. He'll turn 23 June 8th. Hand 9.5. He's got good athletic ability. He's got a plus arm and accurate when given time. In my opinion, he holds the most upside out of all of these second tier type guys.
Who's that, Bagent?
Yes. And I would take him in the 4th round over taking Hooker in the early second. Like, if I'm going to be like, oh, what am I going to spend my picks on? Give me Bagent over Hooker, where they're being drafted every day.
I
Love
think
his upside.
it's a lower tier school. I get that. But anytime where a player can throw over 4,500 yards in consecutive seasons, over 570 passing attempts consecutive seasons, and complete like almost 68% of your passes, that's amazing.
And your dad's an arm wrestling champ.
Yeah, and your dad's the arm wrestling champ, so that helps as well too.
I mean, his work
not too much on the ground,
but
yeah, definitely. And I think that he can make someone lose a job as a backup quarterback in the NFL.
I think he's the closest Brock Purdy we have in this draft. I know everybody's looking for Brock Purdy, but for me, Tyson Bagent is the closest we've got. Even Mike White, that I would take a Mike White type player because I mean he's he had some good starts. He's in Miami now. That's the type of player he can turn out to be. The last one, Stetson Bennett, 5'11", 10-inch hands, 192 pounds, 25. He'll turn 26 October 28th. He was helped out by a dominating defense. His O-line was one of the best in the country. He is underrated with his speed and running. He has an average to below average arm. He can make the throws, but they're not getting out there quick. You better hope you're
Sam Howell or Stetson Bennett.
Sam Howell.
Okay, me too.
I mean, that's easy for me. I still think Howell is what we all want Baker. We all wanted Baker to be. That's my opinion. I think that's what Howell could be.
I hope so. We shall see soon enough, my friend.
In my opinion, Bennett will be a long-time NFL backup, and if he does hit his ceiling, it's Ryan Fitzpatrick, where later on in his career, he has a couple years of starting for a team as a bridge quarterback.
Sorry, Stetson.
So that is the quarterbacks. You got anything you want to talk about?
No, not really. I mean, nothing really. We talked about it, man. I really don't want to talk about any other of these quarterbacks because we're gonna waste our time and the public's time. I mean, just quick reads real fast.
Yeah.
If you're sitting there contemplating life, go out and get Manscaped. Manscaped has the right tools for the job, just like we use the right tools for the job when we are searching for Dynasty gems. Skin safe technology, waterproof, nifty if you want to be dolphin smooth, like Doug usually says. LED lighting to shine a spotlight on your overgrown hedges. Lawnmower 4.0, wireless charger, weed whacker, nose hairs. Yeah, listen, you grow it, they'll trim it. Check out Manscaped for all your Manscaped needs. Use code DHH for 20% off. Manscaped, your balls. We'll thank you for it.
And James, all this tape we've watched, Dynasty Nerds, I'll watch it in the prospect room. They got tons of cut-ups, all 22 cut-ups, which is what you want. You know what? You missed the play a little bit. It's just coming right up. They're going to replay it for you. You don't even need to hit pause, rewind. The prospect film room is a godsend to me. I love it. 15% off. You can get with code DHH. You can get off any subscription they have. Trade Tools, Nerd Herd episode. They have an extra prospect film room, like we mentioned, and the Dynasty GM, which is so much fun to just play around with and kind of
dial up some trades.
Yep, dial up trades, tinker around with your team, see, or even just brag. This week I took a screenshot of a league that I've run for 9 years with some friends. And I've always been middle of the tier. And you know what? Dynasty GM put me up 1 out of 10. It's a 10-team league. And I am champ in the Dynasty GM eyes. So that's what I like to use. And I sent it
Careful
to him.
with that. Careful with that. It can be misleading.
That's true. That's true. But it shows that my team has tremendous value. So when you start looking at the GM, you can go ahead and do that, especially if you're bored this time of year, spring break. Other than that, that's it.
I think it's time to get out of here.
Yeah, we're going to do running backs next week. Doug will be back. And hey, Doug, happy birthday once again. Hopefully you enjoy it. James and I, we're going to go play a round of golf on PGA 2K23 after we are done here.
Yeah.
But you know what? If the weather's not great like it is here, might as well just play it on the old Xbox.
Hey, so I played it today. I played around today. It was great. It was great to be outside.
Yes, that's true.
Touch grass.
Well, once again, we'll see you guys next week on the Dynasty Happy Hour.